The weird thing is that he said faggot 3 times and a faggot didn't appear because we usually do operate on Beetlejuice rules. I saw someone online even say it's automatic. If someone's going to line up for a 60-yard kick against the Bills, they're definitely going to make it. So the fact that we got one.
Yeah.
Well, I was so prepared for overtime. Tyler Bass was like, no, we're out of here.
It really came down to that. I saw some tweet after he did pretty well this week, Tyler, and it was some random person that was retweeted the video where he was crying in the locker room, thanking everyone and being like, yo, should we chill on Bass now? Is he seeing all of our tweets?
Oh my God. It's this is the awareness that
for him to
needed.
actually be had a really hard couple weeks and you guys have been there for me, and being oh,
yeah,
the internet is toxic. Have you heard? It can do that.
He was perfect last week. Then he missed a PAT. Then he doinked another PAT in. And it's just all right, I don't really know what you do with a guy who's top 10 in terms of pay for his position, who's doing shit like that.
What's a PAT?
Point after touchdown.
There we go. I like that. PAT.
I know. The pat.
I didn't know he was paid that much.
Yeah. With I think something I don't care about contract details, but I read this stuff and then it sticks in my brain. But something with incentives, he's top 10 for his position, but I think he's technically 12th highest paid kicker.
Yeah.
But going into that game, he was 12 for 16 on his kicks. So not great, not great. And then one of the greatest kicks I've ever seen, Justin Tucker's shit, except for the year Justin Tucker was on my fantasy team.
Do you think it's harder though? It's 70%, right? Or something right now, but he's not on the field as much. So he can't, how do you, it feels I guess everything is more heavy, weight heavier. You mess up once and it really brings it down.
Yeah.
Math.
Yeah. It's if I'm a perfectionist, so I wouldn't be happy with 12 of 16, right? But I think most people would be that's a pretty decent accomplishment rate, but not to the standard of an NFL kicker, unfortunately. That will get you fired, especially. Which is
wild because do you think you give 70% at the last job you had?
I give at least 70% to this and my partner. And probably nothing else.
So 140%.
Well, it's variable. So it's not all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right now, this is, I would say, getting 80%. And nothing, actually, over there. No.
Just 80. Are we working out of 80 as the total? Or
well, on election day, with democracy
we got to get Kornacki up here instead of lo-fi.
I need to see it on the big board. How many spoons does Brendan have? It's a little spoon theory for the audience. Google it.
I feel the two circles of spoon theory and this podcast probably very overlapped. I think we're gonna have to explain some things like football to people, but I think we're all aware of spoons.
Yeah. Everybody's at home yes. Mac Hollins is the greatest football player I've ever seen.
Say it again.
Incredible. Unbelievable display of athletic talent. I want the jersey. One more Mac Hollins touchdown and I'll overdraft my bank account. I will live stream me overdrafting my bank account buying a Mac Hollins jersey. He was all over the place. It was awesome. Pick it up at Savers next February, but I want to spend $180 on the
right now and the overnight shipping.
Yes. Where do you think Joe Biden is watching? He's just sitting on a train somewhere. They just loaded him on.
Amtrakking to Pete to hang out with Pete and Chaston.
It's like the movie poster for The Exorcist, where it's just getting loaded onto an Amtrak. See you later, Joe. See you later, Joe.
Oh, I did want to bring up, before we get into the Jason Kelce of it all,
a lot going on.
The fact that I, as a journalist, subscribe to Haley Steinfeld's newsletter.
Yes.
Because someone has to.
I did subscribe. I just haven't.
You haven't read Beau Society?
I haven't opened any of them yet. But I did see some of the photos.
I subscribed to her and Dua Lipa's. Dua has a whole team behind hers.
What are they up to over there?
She's always the best places to go out to lunch in Bosnia or whatever. Haley's is much more relatable.
Yeah.
Which I'll take. But according to her newsletter,
Yeah. Oh my God, the costumes.
the costumes, which some of them are actually pretty funny comparatively.
Honestly, just hers and Josh's.
Well,
Like, I can't stop thinking about that photo. The first one. She's obviously an Avenger, so she can hit those poses.
And a pop star.
And a pop star who soft endorsed Kamala. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't.
She liked an Instagram post of someone who was endorsing Kamala. I think that's as close as we're going to get.
We really all have a lot of time to spend on the internet somehow.
I felt
Not
that
just
was...
us, I mean humans in general. Okay, but back to the Josh and Haley Halloween party. This is straight from her newsletter describing planning the whole thing, executing it, done right here in Orchard Park. Looked like a great time. They did like circus themed, so Haley and Josh, as the host and hostess, were ringleaders. Quote from her newsletter: "We were in the sweet spot with timing when planning this party. Far enough away from the date to potentially have costumes made special for the occasion. So early on, I texted R and M with ringmaster references. They pulled in Marco to create the vision." Now, when I read this, I literally gasped because Marco is an incredible designer, gay designer. He's worked with pop stars, but most famously, I guess in my eyes, he's worked a lot with RuPaul's Drag Race girls. And some of the stuff that he makes is truly, truly stunning. I mean, if you go to his Instagram, which is Marco Squared, he is a 2-time Emmy Award-winning costume designer. And literally everyone on his grid is a girl from RuPaul's Drag Race. And like one of the top girls, we have Plastique, we have Gottmik, we have Eureka right at the top, Georges, even Nina West. If you watched All Stars 9, some of the looks Gottmik came out with, and we as in Drag Race girlies know that Gottmik is always serving looks down. But some of the stuff she did this year was like truly jaw-dropping. And if you're on Marco's Instagram, Gottmik is the person who usually has like the white face, almost like in a Chaperone-esque makeup. There was a challenge on RuPaul's Drag Race. They had to do a look inspired by like a famous piece of art. And so Gottmik and Marco did a fully stoned dress that was the Scream, you know, like the thing that's like, oh, with the hands on the cheeks. It's one of the most beautiful looking pieces of art, pieces of costume, pieces of clothing I've ever seen. And then truly one of my favorite looks I've ever seen on Drag Race, I've ever seen anywhere, is also Gottmik and Marco. And that week's challenge was something that was like, oh, tiggled bitties, or like it was just like a boob challenge to have like some kind of costume where like the boobs are like the central piece, right? And so most people, from what I remember, just did like over the top tits, and which is fun, love that. But Gottmik, as a trans man drag queen or drag artist, did a look that was inspired by their top surgery. So it was like the opposite, and it was like these bejeweled like top surgery scars, and then she had a bag filled with like bedazzled like bloody tits, and you just have to look at it. It's incredible. It's artistry. It's beautiful. It's stunning. She looks great. I still don't have any words for it. But the idea that for some reason the guy who created looks like these also created Josh Allen's Halloween costume for his party in Orchard Park cracks me up. I don't know the connection between Haley Steinfeld and Marco or like why he was involved in making this like really nice but like pretty basic like circus ringleader costume. Either way, you look through Marco's Instagram and you're like, oh, he's gay as hell, and he's making like gay as hell garments and also making Josh Allen's Halloween costume. If anyone knows how or why that connection happened, would love to know. Should we talk about the Jason Kelce of it all?
Oh, God.
Do we want to anymore? Like, it already has cycled once.
Yeah.
It started and then ended somehow.
So quickly.
I guess you could call it ended right?
I just think that there's a lot of like money currently like invested in the Kelce brothers, so there's not really like a big incentive to like tear somebody down.
The kid, it was like this huge Penn State game. Everyone's hammered. And that, not that validates everything, but imagine.
Based on the way that the sun was in the sky, it was about 12:30 afternoon. So
but it was also
Penn
daylight
State,
savings.
Good and hammered. Definitely late enough in 11,
the afternoon. Yeah. And so this kid goes up, or he's like running after Jason Kelce, and everyone's like filming and being like, oh my God, Kelce, who's there alone with like a 12 rack, just stomping his way to Nittany Stadium or whatever. And the kid says Travis Kelce is an F-slur for dating Taylor Swift. So then Jason turns around, takes that kid's phone who was filming the interaction as he was just like basically screaming at Jason Kelce, and then Jason Kelce grabs the phone, smashes it, picks it up, puts the phone in his pocket, the other guy's phone, and then
That's
says,
awesome.
Who's the F word now?
Yeah. I wonder at what point, like...
He said it 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. My phone, Kelce. Whoa. Get the fuck out of here.
The fact that he said it 3 times was fun to find out, and it does really roll off the tongue, like, but it's not
that
surprising.
adds a lot more,
you know.
I it was like,
and then his apology was like weak as fuck too, which is like, I met hate with hate. It's just like, what are we actually talking about here though? Because like, you're a football guy who's running around with other football guys who like to put on fucking Make America Great Again hats, and I don't know. I just want to have fun on the podcast, but like, I've been called faggot. I guess it feels bad. Silver lining is that now I get to call people faggots and get away with it now. But like, it was whenever somebody calls you a faggot, it sucks. And I guess saying it when it was not that long ago that they used to like beat kids to death that they would call faggots in certain part of this country. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know that that's what NFL locker rooms are like, but I feel like it's weird that we don't talk about it more. I don't really have anything cool to say or funny to say about it, it turns out. I don't know. I feel like we were thinking about it all day.
Well, I think it's interesting because the whole point, right, of this show and just like the larger topics at hand is that there is this kind of like, there is space for people who aren't straight cis white guys to watch football. It doesn't seem like it because stuff like this happens and then you don't feel like you want to be a part of something that's like includes these types of people, whether it's that kid whose probably name is fucking Connor or whatever, or it's Jason Kelce, or it's anything like that. And it bums me out too, because then it's like, you know, we have these conversations and we go to the bars and we have fun and watch, and then you remember like deep down there's still this like undercurrent of there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
With the culture of the NFL and of American football and of the people who, and cis white men in general. And like, it's like a whatever microcosm of the larger societal problems and stuff. And it's like a lot to say that from like a bunch of cell phone clips from 20-year-olds at Penn State. But there's something there.
Yeah. I don't know. Jen, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, no, I don't know how I think y'all have covered it or touched on it like enough, but I think we kind of touched on like the coverage of it. And I do think that, like you said, like I think the most somebody might hear is that he said it once. If you look it up now, all there is like it's either described as phone smashing incident or Travis Kelce called homophobic slur. And it's like, yeah, it sucks to be called a fucking faggot, but like it doesn't suck that hard for not gay man Kelce, who has probably called somebody else that off mic. Like like, you know, we're lying to ourselves if you don't think that's the first time Jason Kelce has had that word come out of his mouth. The coverage of it now, it really feels like it's like, I saw some shit about like Taylor and Jason hug at the box on Monday night at the Chiefs game. And it's like, it's just now it's like they're the victims of a hate crime of a demographic they're not a part of, and of a slur he said 2 more times than the guy who said it to him in the first place. We were talking about it the day of, and it's like, it would have been a lot cooler for him to like smash the phone and be like, we don't say that anymore. You know, instead of being like, you know, and the overarching, like, he was sticking up for his brother argument is like, just like, it's the same way, I don't know, people use like, oh, prison justice. It's like, well, actually, cruel and unusual punishment is bad no matter what, and we need like, like we could go on. And that's a whole different conversation. But it's just like this kind of thing where it's like bad behavior does not allow for bad behavior, and in this case, even like worse behavior. Like he escalates it to violence. He says it 2 more times. And it's not I think we were saying it's not a slur the first time, and then when he uses it, a cool comeback. It's not like, oh no, when he said it, it's fine because he's, I don't know, affiliated with Taylor, and it's not great.
But I think that is part of to wrap it up on a note or whatever, of just like, if it was anyone else, right? And even we'll just say any other football player, but it's Jason Kelce, who is like in his like America's Dad moment, who is related to Travis, who's dating the most popular woman on earth right now or whatever. Like, so they're protected by this like weird cultural bubble of like, oh, well, those are the Kelces and we love their mom and we love Taylor Swift. So therefore, like, he's just a good brother. And sure, like those things could be true, but there's other stuff that happened. It's nothing we're going to solve, but it was a fascinating incident to happen that, again, with just like the way news moves too, news, sports, even with the election and shit, it's like that happened on Saturday, Sunday. We record this on Tuesday and it already came back to like he apologizes now, like we've moved on as like a nation or whatever.
And again, not addressing like the language that he used in any way, just that he's like, it was an ugly moment, whatever. And I guess we're all just waiting to see how this week goes to determine how angry we should really be about it. Don't ever wear that fucking chicken wing in this town again, though, Jason. We're going to the cesspool. Do you think that's the sort of brand association Recess is looking for? I think after that Jason Kelce coverage, I could go for an alcohol-free moment with a craft mocktail made with real ingredients that taste like my favorite cocktails.
Which one's your favorite?
My favorite is, of course, the classic Cosmo. And it's just because it's the one that I naturally gravitated toward as
Giving Carrie Bradshaw. And for our foreign correspondence this week, we are actually staying on the East Coast. I'd say we are staying in state, but unfortunately, I cannot say that. We are heading to MetLife Stadium, where Giants fan Dave, aka my friend from college, is here to tell us a bit about what's been happening just over the border in New Jersey.
Thanks, Caitlin. This was a huge weekend for Giants fans. All week spent looking forward to Sunday, and boy, did it pay off for us. The action started early in the first quarter of the day. At 7 a.m., when Max Verstappen would all but lock up the Formula One Drivers' Championship for the 4th straight year, making up 16 places under heavy rain to dramatically win the Brazilian Grand Prix. Of course, then game time came, and we were treated to a beautiful run game, as Abdi Nagiye of the Netherlands won the New York City Men's Marathon on his 4th try. Imagine that. 3 times in a row, you don't go out and win, but surely you got to make some changes in the background. Surely that 4th time in a row is going to be slightly different, right? Don't make me talk about the Giants. It's miserable. They're miserable. We're not even a fun dumpster fire. I looked it up this weekend, and did you know there is not a single conceivable stat that puts the Giants in the top half of the league? This is not a team with a problem or two to fix. This is a team that is stuck in 2011, convincing themselves that they're going to put together another real underdog contender, and guess what? It's not working. I can't believe that we gave up Saquon Barkley in order to give designed runs to Daniel Jones, a player who famously tripped over his own feet in the middle of open field. There is one bright spot this weekend. We are only 96 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting for spring training, and dear God, will that be a welcome distraction from whatever the Giants are doing in February, because I cannot imagine they'd still be playing ball.
So much exciting stuff happening in East Rutherford. Thank you, Dave, for filling us in on the newsworthy New York Giants.
First results in from Georgia. USA. We're not going to do that again.
USA. So it is election day. Right now it is, well, currently as we record, 7:24. So the polls are apparently closed in some places.
Yeah, how do we feel about Colts fans tonight? We've already got
Are they a swing state?
projected winner already in. So
how is that possible?
that's the Joe Flacco effect. That's what happens.
Not even the Trump of it all. I just mean, how are they calling or projecting things at 7 p.m.?
There are probably only 7 people in the entire state who voted today.
Kentucky.
I don't even know who they...
Jack Harlow.
Jack Harlow's from Kentucky?
Hell yeah.
Well, I thought he was Detroit coded.
No, he's like Louisville.
Who did
like...
Yellow Wolf endorse? We don't care. It's not 2014 anymore.
I heard Fat Joe on NPR this morning.
I opened up my phone and saw who celebrities are endorsing because it was in my investigation of Josh Allen. God, Jesus. Anyway, terrible sentence. But the thumbnail that they ran was like Fat Joe at a podium. And I was like, that's Fat Joe.
He was apparently going off because Puerto Rico, quote unquote, joke.
Oh, that makes sense.
Which I guess he's Puerto Rican. I didn't know. But like,
I was like, what, Michael Rappaport wasn't
they were
available
like,
for this thumbnail? Yeah. Like, the fuck is Fat Joe doing? But no, that makes sense.
They just call on him when they need it.
Yeah.
Get Fat Joe on the line. Like, where has he been?
Yeah.
Who is he convincing?
All right, I'll do it, but I get to perform 3 songs.
So with that, it is election day. But last week I mentioned I was doing a little research just about the crossover of NFL and politics, because of course there's like so much more sway that the NFL has over everything outside of football and sports in general. And I mentioned that there is an NFL PAC called the Gridiron PAC.
That's right.
Which is
so good.
Yeah. I mean, incredible branding. Yeah. First of all.
Yeah. Where were they when we were trying to name this podcast?
Exactly. They're like, just do it. It's right there. Which I found fascinating because it just seems like there's so much talk about like, oh yeah, Roger Goodell and Taylor Swift or whatever and cahoots and blah, blah, blah. And Roger Goodell does this, but it's like, oh, it's like you're actually just like putting in paper that like the NFL is putting money into shit and like creating a PAC.
Yeah.
So they started their own PAC, Political Action Committee, and began making donations in the 2010 cycle. So I guess like not too long ago in the grand scheme of things, but in 2023, the Gridiron PAC raised almost $400,000 from its owners, team executives, and league staff. And the PAC had more than $1.3 million in cash at the end of 2023, which is an incredible amount of money. And it's fascinating because the MLB, like Major League Baseball, also has a PAC. They started theirs in 2001, and it does not have millions of dollars.
They were like 9/11, never again. That's when they got involved. You know what? That's funny, though, that I guess, again, describing something as funny that's not actually funny at all.
Deeply concerning.
Really deeply troubling. I did see, like, when I was, like, reading some of the research that you did, like, that I think the MLB PAC, or maybe the owners, which I guess you could say that they're one and the same, does lean slightly Democratic, though, in the way that they use that
Isn't that
money.
funny?
That's, yeah.
I mean, again, funny being the word choice.
Pretty strange. Like, I assumed it would be true that, like, the NFL would skew Republican. But then I was reading that article, and I got, like, to the midpoint, and they formed that PAC, I think, after they got their asses beat in Congress for the CTE stuff.
Oh,
and the committee that spanked them when they formed their PAC, they were donating to members of Congress who would be on that committee.
Oh.
Who were the ones who were looking into the CTE stuff. And my eyes started to bleed. I had to close the browser. I was like, I'm recording in like 45 minutes and like it's election day and I have to be
There's a lot to think about. I know.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's like there's so much just sports knowledge to get to becoming like a fan of all this, and let alone the names and the players and the stats and the blah, blah, blah. But then there's this whole other layer of just like cultural, governmental influence that is under all of it, and how it really runs like not even just like our water cooler talks and whatever small talk at work, but then it's like, no, like actual like decisions that affect a lot of people.
Right. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of people.
Because everyone's a billionaire, and at the same time just having this like horrifying, oh, Rachel Maddow, shout out.
Hey, Rachel. Well, that's weird that that's a calming force. Typically, where's Joy Reid at? Fuck me. Let's go. Yeah, because they know.
I'm going to leave that in.
I like that it
3
said,
days from now, it's breaking.
Bill said projection, Kamala Harris won Vermont. At the exact same time, MSNBC said projection, North Carolina is too close to call. So
it's only 7:30. It keeps. Why are they making graphics that say it's too early to call? Like everyone knows that nothing's ended yet.
We'll be in good shape if she wins Ohio, but obviously,
So has he won those already? They're projecting.
Oh God, I can't believe we're doing this again.
Indiana and Kentucky.
Shout out Vermont. Vermont's all we have as a nation.
Georgia, yeah, because like they haven't like. They'll be going to be counting votes in Atlanta until they finish shoveling half of them into that incinerator.
Oh, God.
Brian Kemp is probably shooting voters personally right now on the streets of Savannah, Georgia.
Do you think by the time this podcast airs on Thursday, we'll know who the president is?
Or we'll be in a constitutional crisis. So,
or
I
we'll
would
all be
say
dead.
50-50. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Well, you know, we did our part. We got to do the democracy that we get.
And then in terms of some numbers and dollars that were spent this year, even though the election is over by the time this is airing, NFL owners donated at least $28 million to federal political candidates and causes during the 23-24 election cycle. And that is a hefty sum that, according to USA Today Sports Research, marks a 7-fold increase from the amount spent over the same time period 4 years ago. So I guess they're just like really leaning into controlling everything.
Yeah, and like keep in mind that like this wasn't even something that was really legal until like Citizens United, I think. And it's just everybody with money is jumping into that pool. And I'm well, again, not really for me to think about. It's not my problem. I can't fix all the world's problems.
Do you think Steve Kornacki's hot?
I think
hard yes from Jen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Hot and gay man, Steve Kornacki. I feel like he could pull off hot, but I don't think that any of the energy that he has is specifically attractive to me.
Do you think it's like that thing when it was early COVID and people started saying Cuomo-sexual just because we were all so scared?
I've never recovered from that.
That's what I feel like people are so vulnerable on election night. They're like, Steve, he's hot. He knows numbers. Yeah. And it's like, if you ask them 3 weeks from now, it's going to be like, wait, what? Cuomo-sexual?
Yeah, I didn't say
that. We all thought he had nipple rings.
Do you think this is the camera, or do you think his torso is like just...
I think this man gets up at 4 a.m. and absolutely tears it in his home gym.
Yeah.
And he's like drinking Soylent.
He hasn't eaten, like, he hasn't had to chew food in 8.5 months preparing for this night.
Well, he's got to be up for 4 days. He doesn't get to sleep till next week until we have a president.
I think
He's talking about Onky County in Georgia.
Kornacki could use a little recess. And I recommend the classic Cosmo. It's infused with, I'm not going to attempt the pronunciation on that. We're going to say adaptogens.
Guarine.
Guayusa? Gay USA. Gay USA.
Honey, I wish.
I do like that one of the articles that you liked about that's just speculating on how the quarterbacks are going to vote.
Oh, yeah.
I took a screenshot of it because it uses her for Brock Purdy, which is like, that's the best typo, I assume, ever. But like, I will absolutely be a Brock Purdy is a she, her, like truther from now on.
Oh my God.
His political stance remains a mystery, but he has yet to make a definitive public statement. Unclear, but for her Christian roots, he might lean right to Trump.
Her Christian roots.
What
Amen.
the fuck?
So this article Brent is talking about, I'll put it in the show notes, but it is just kind of like profiling, projecting what this person at marca.com thinks quarterbacks.
All 32 starting quarterbacks.
But the one that stuck out to me, obviously, and I would love to ask you about this, and I'm going to ask you about this, is when it comes to Josh Allen, the article says, after some controversy in his past, Allen has shown growth and awareness regarding social issues, strong possibility for Harris. And all I could really think of is like, didn't he say some like dumb tweets when he was younger?
That's all I could find was like
Really?
the tweet stuff. And then I remember there were some group of hyper online people who like a pop star. I won't name them or anything. They dug up that
Fat Joe fans.
Fat Joe fans discovered, I think, that he's been like a registered Republican, but like has never voted. Like not even just didn't vote for Trump, just hasn't voted, which is like he's a himbo at a minimum, and I'm into that. And then obviously the stupid tweets, and that he had apparently followed on Instagram like some unsavory accounts, which I think all that he's been like slowly cleaning that stuff up, but is also Mahomesian in that he's never publicly said anything about his political views one way or the other. But not like Patrick Mahomes, who said he thinks all that shit is private and then also used the words "Make America Great" like in the same statement.
His mom posted.
Oh, jumping all
box.
around. Yeah, that's fantastic.
And I mean, Britney's just Britney.
What do you think are in the boxes that the Hunts got for Taylor and Britney were? Did you see the enormous gift boxes or whatever?
No.
The fuck? Yeah, it's probably
At
like
yesterday's game.
It's got to be like ARs or something. You got to figure.
What do you get Taylor Swift?
A jet with like a jet inside of it.
I feel like she'd also really appreciate like a DIY, you know. She'd be like, "Oh, baby." And it's like Travis Kelce's like hand and clay.
She gets to make a draft pick. I don't know what she wants. What do you think she wants to be
in life?
Yeah.
I mean, I think what else do you do from this? Like the tour at the USA Eras tour is over. Ended in Indianapolis or some shit. And then she's going to be...
And they just went for Trump?
Well, no. Well, that part. But she's going to be in Toronto for the next, like, month.
Oh.
And then the tour's, like, over.
Dead.
Like, it's just gone everywhere it could possibly be. Like, what do you think she wants? I
think she'll probably become a minority owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, if I had to guess. I honestly believe that's true.
Do you think there's credibility or validity to like the whole Roger Goodell and then Taylor Swift are in like cahoots and like trying to make this the most popular thing in the world or whatever, or like keep showing her because all the online stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I do. No, probably not.
I kind of, but like, okay, even as again, I'll say with my whole chest, a Swiftie. I think here my dead ass like thing is that I think they actually did meet and date and like each other. But then I think Roger Goodell was like, sit down. No, not you, Travis. You go outside.
Yeah, he thought he was showing up for a meeting. Like
he was like, oh my God, thank you so much. My life has changed. He's like, no. This is for big guys.
Wait outside. Yeah. And Taylor knew the whole time. Driving over there, she was letting him go on about it. Just like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. As soon as I get in there. Hold my bag.
She's like, baby, I'll be right back.
Yeah,
hold my bag.
Hold the Birkin.
Just go outside. It's okay. Just be a minute. Yeah.
It's true. I will say a lot of people are making a lot of money and the Chiefs are undefeated and it doesn't seem to be on the back of very good quarterback play. But whatever. It's fine. I don't think we can beat the Ravens anyway. So bring on the playoffs. Woo! I think, going back to the original topic, that it's more likely that Josh Allen would vote for Kamala Harris than it is that Patrick Mahomes would vote for Kamala Harris. And I think it's way more likely that that's the case. And I think that if it isn't true, that may be why he's growing the hair out, because there will be a celebrity breakup. Because I don't think...
But they just had the Halloween party.
Maybe that was like a last-ditch effort, a Hail Mary, if you will. Put him in...
Haley Mary.
A Haley Mary. Put him in some gay clothes, make him see things from the other side. This is what it made me feel really gross, because I was like, well, let's look up the voting demographics of Fireball, California. And it tends to split pretty evenly, but like mostly I think leans Democratic.
What about where the University of Wyoming is?
That I did not bother to look into.
That's 4 years that could change your life.
Well, I assume that is probably, the crest of the hill of his stupid young small town white boy racism, where he's 14 or 15 making these ridiculous tweets, probably from the back of a tractor or something. Who the fuck knows? Not excusing it. I think that the white race should be extinct, but okay. So wait. Take a recess.
They're going to make us send all the drink back.
Throw that up right now. This is the worst part. I saw that his younger sister, and maybe don't even bother to put this in, was liking maybe some anti-trans tweets. So people find this stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously try and connect it to somebody else's thing. And again, it's just mad fans of a certain pop star, I think, who know
Haley
that she's
Steinfeld.
Kevin Bacon 1 degree removed from people who have made their voting intentions very clear. But, there aren't very many of those Haley Steinfeld fans out there, of course.
Okay, last segment I want to try, sponsored by my good friend Caitlin. It doesn't have a name, and that's actually where Jen's going to have to come in with the punny name, because it's just called currently educational segment to wrap. And basically, we realized that, or she helped me realize, and then I told Brenda we were going to do this, but my friend Caitlin's big marketing person and very smart in that field, and was saying herself as a new football fan, just wanted a little more tidbit, a little more takeaway, a little more okay, what is this position, or what is this play, or what is a snap, and I'm like, yeah, that's stuff that I barely even know still.
Some little knowledge.
Some little nuggets, kernels, popcorns, whatever you want to call them. And so I figured I would just think of stuff that I don't know when they say it and bring it to
That's
Brendan.
great.
Yeah. And so we were watching last Thursday Night Football. I think it was the Lions or something. And I've been trying to watch games and when there's flags and stuff, guess it for myself, just to be am I learning anything? Oh, that must be a,
do you
horse
watch
collar or whatever.
Do you look for the ref arm movements to see
Oh
whatever?
no, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
I've just seen when a flag happens or everyone starts pointing, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's offsides. And then if it is, I'm like, yes. If
Nice.
it's not, I'm like, okay, it's a new thing. So that's what I was trying to do. And this week, the question, the nugget is offsides versus false start versus encroachment, because this is when everyone's lined up in the middle. What is that? The snap? When it's
when they're all lined up on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
ready to
and it's
snap the ball, which is obviously when the dude in the middle of the line squirts that back into the quarterback's hands,
it back
like a nasty little baby.
No, go on. A nasty baby.
Yeah. It's
diaper blowout.
It's like a diaper blowout.
So I knew false starts because when I was in swim team in high school, it would be when someone dove in too fast, and it was much more embarrassing.
Oh,
fully splashed into the pool.
That's
and you have to get out and do it again. Yeah. So false start, I was I know what that means. That makes sense to me. And usually there's someone who kind of does that, or that's a flag or a call. I understand now is when someone moves a little too fast, and then everyone starts pointing and tattletale.
Haha, we saw it.
And basically that. Yeah. And I was like, cool, false start. I got it. I know exactly what it means. Very self-explanatory. But then it happened, I think, in some game we watched this weekend, and it was an offsides, but it looked like the same action of like someone just starting to run too fast. And then when I looked up what are the difference between these two, just to kind of like see for myself, then another thing came up that was called encroachment. And then another thing came up that was called snap infringement.
Yeah.
And in my mind, these all look the same, where someone's just a little antsy and like starts too fast. So that's 4 things. But could you tell us the difference? And I'll rattle them off for you.
Yes.
So start with false start, because that seems like the most simple to wrap my head around.
Okay. So you're right that they are essentially some version of the same thing. It's just different depending on who's doing it and like what side of the ball they're on.
Okay.
So false start, that is an offensive penalty where one of the players either on the line or just in the formation moves before the ball has been snapped. Though we could go right to what you called a snap infringement.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know them as like snap infractions, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically, it is a false start. But if the center is doing like weird, like jazz hands with the ball, like so before he snaps it, if he like flips it or like just moves it in general, that's a snap infraction. That's also a type of false start.
So he's the only one that can get that. The center.
I wonder if, well, I feel like if like a guard lined up next to him, like reached down there and we're like on the ball, they would probably call a false start before they bothered to get to it being a snap infraction.
They're just being
or whatever.
silly.
Yeah, just like, hey, false start. And also that's ridiculous, but hilarious, but don't do that. And then on the other side of the ball is offsides. It's when a player on the defensive side of the ball jumps across the line, but not into the line. That would be encroachment. And that's the distinction there.
What are the lines?
The line of, so when the defensive line is lined up across from the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So if a defensive player were to, before the ball was snapped, move into the offensive line, that would be encroachment.
Mm-hmm.
And if, say, somebody like an edge rusher, somebody lined up on the defensive edge, like jumped across the line, you see like players like Josh Allen, savvy quarterbacks, using their cadence, like the way that they're like, oh, the blue 42 alert, like all that stuff. They'll change their inflection to make the defensive players think that the snap is coming, because part of like what they're doing is trying to time that snap. So like Josh Allen, I hit him with like some random like, oh, and he think like the way that he says it makes him think the ball's coming out, and then he jumps offside. So when the ball does come out a second later, now the flag comes out for offsides and it's a free play. So
that is so theatrical.
I know. It's so fun.
What do you think the voice lessons that go into like calling plays are?
That I would actually want to know about. Like we did the ballet stuff. Like I wonder if like Josh Allen's a freak. He's probably just like doing like the Christian Bale Batman voice or something. And then like switching to like Dennis, whoever. Because
that's so interesting. Like you don't even have. I guess she has his little like bracelet of plays. But
yeah, maybe it has like voices to do.
It's like bolded.
Yeah.
Like
Jack Nicholson.
Do the goofy one.
Yeah.
Okay, so from what it sounds like, false start and snap infringement, those are offensive flags.
Yes.
And then encroachment and offsides are defensive flags.
Got it.
They all happen. They all are basically tweaked as different things. Thank you for listening to another episode of Man Coverage. Please make sure to follow our Instagram at Man Coverage Pod for more memes and other dumb shit. And also subscribe, rate, review, and share this show with other dumb girlies. Go Bills. Knacky in the backy. Knacky in the backy.
Knacky in the backy.
Let's get those recesses out.